What's going on, guys? Graham Jason Mathis here with BleacherReport.com. And coming out of Survivor Series on Sunday, today we're talking to the King himself, Xavier Woods, ahead of SmackDown this coming week. Entrenched in a lot of stuff right now between the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, G4, coming out of Survivor Series. Xavier, my man, thanks for taking the time. You got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, of course. Definitely a lot going on. I'm home for 3 days to do something for Thanksgiving. And then when I leave, I'll be back home at the end of December. So, yeah, staying a little bit busy.
Very nice. Well, what are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Have the family over, get something catered. Just do not feel like cooking this year. Like you said, very, very busy, been on the go, and trying to get the most out of some time with the family while I've got it. Like I said, being gone all the time is a little intense, but we're going to have a good one, man.
Very nice, man. Are you a planes, trains, and automobiles fan by any chance, or no?
No, what's that?
Oh, it's a movie with not Jim Carrey. It's
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's a classic Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah.
It's a classic one. It's worth checking out. But nonetheless, I know when we were speaking a couple days ago at the press junket for Survivor Series, we were talking about like the New Day anniversary and whatnot. And you mentioned that, you don't really remember the exact date, but it was on Black Friday. And we're speaking on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving now. That's got to be crazy, right? It
is, especially to think like where I was mentally at that time to where I am now, just a completely different person. Because, from time to time people will say, oh, what do you think your life will look like in five years? Where do you think you'll be in 10 years? Do you think that you'll be a different person, that your worries or your needs or your whatever will change? And I feel like when I was younger, it's like, no, I'm going to be the exact same 10 years like I am now. Yeah, I might be more mature, but like the things that I want out of life are going to be the exact same and this and that. And it's like, no, man, I feel like you change every like 3 or 4 years, honestly. So not that I'm a completely different person at this point in life, but I'm definitely more confident, especially in my career and what I can do and what I think I bring to the table, which I think is the natural progression for not just wrestling, but for anyone in any position, in any career. Your hope is to just be better at what you quote unquote know how to do as you move along and try to be a better person while you're gaining those skills. So that's what I'm hoping I'm accomplishing in this time.
Yeah, no, I would certainly say you are. I mean, a lot of different fronts. I mean, obviously not only are you the current king of the ring, having just won the crown a couple of weeks ago, but with everything you're doing between up, down, G4, everything you're doing inside the WWE ring, this is probably the busiest you've ever been, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been ramping up year after year. So besides wrestling on either Raw or SmackDown throughout the years, and then the pay-per-views and traveling to overseas stuff, I've always been trying to stay busy doing what I feel like I'm going to be good at post-wrestling.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely been cranking up more and more. And this year is probably the most I've been able to jump out into the gaming space while still wrestling. So it's an extreme overload of burning the candle at both ends. But my hope is that it all pays off, and then when I'm done wrestling, I've got a life already set up that I don't have to rebuild from the bottom up.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously everything you're doing is work, but does it feel like work because it's something that you're enjoying as far as with the involvement with video games and whatever, as far as that being your lifelong passion?
Yeah, it's definitely some of the most fun that I've ever had, just getting to be in a new space that's different from the wrestling space as far as like an actual job goes. Because I've been dabbling in the space, doing appearances here and hosting gigs there, but with G4, like it's my job, and that definitely feels different as opposed to what I've been doing in the gaming space before it. But I freaking love it. It is a lot, and it is stressful, especially trying to bounce between let's say like we're doing today, like interviews, but then time at home, but then time with wrestling, and then time with the gaming stuff. So it's definitely a lot, but I feel like if you want something, then you're going to figure out how to carve out time to make it work. Yeah. And this is what I'm very much trying to do right now. So I guess time will tell if I'm making the right decision and doing the right things, making the right moves. But as of right now in the present, it feels pretty good. Stressful, but pretty good.
I know the G4 gig is relatively new as of this year, but obviously you've been involved in the wrestling game space for a while, for a video game space, for the last couple of years. With that being said, my buddy Eric was wondering, have you really had the opportunity lately to really step back and realize the influence that you've had from a self-branding perspective is creating your own brand, doing everything your big manifestation person is you wanted to work for G4, you got that gig. The King Woods thing, that came to fruition. Have you had a chance to really step back and realize that yet or not yet?
I don't know, not yet. And I feel like because everything's like the book's still being written. You know, this chapter specifically is, I feel like for me, it's a new chapter because it's not just a focus on wrestling, and there hasn't. I guess in my life, it's never been just a focus on wrestling. I've always kind of had another thing that I've been trying to jump into as well. But this now, like I said before, the G4 being like my actual job as well, it definitely feels like a new frontier, I guess. I've finally gotten past that idea of people in the gaming space possibly seeing me as like, oh, he's the wrestling guy. Like, I want them to know, like, no, that's the Sega Saturn guy, and he also wrestles, you know. And as for the wrestling fans, I want them to go, oh, that's the New Day guy or the King guy, and he does video game stuff. You know, I want people to understand that whichever field you found me in, I'm shooting to be, or hoping to one day be, like an expert in that field. Yeah. So that wherever you find me first, that's the base that you have with me, and then you find out, oh, you know, he wrestles, oh, he plays bass, like whatever it is that I'm digging into. I want to be as good as I can be. I want to be a polymath, if you will, the modern day version of a Renaissance man.
Dude, that kind of sounds like The Rock a little bit. I feel like people see his movies now and kind of forget that he was a wrestler. I feel like you're going to kind of follow in his footsteps as far as that goes, you know?
Yeah. In a sense, definitely. He's definitely a huge inspiration as far as, you know, stepping out of wrestling when it's time to hang up your boots and moving on to your new field. But I definitely am not looking to follow in his footsteps. I'm looking to make my own footsteps.
Sure.
And we're looking to be the best version of Austin Creed that I can possibly be. But yeah, he's definitely a huge inspiration for that. And I think that without him stepping out and becoming as big as he's become in Hollywood, it would be a lot harder for me to do what I'm doing now, because people would still have a little bit more of that stigma of pro wrestlers just punching each other in the face and yelling on microphones. You know, the more that he does, the better we all look, and the easier it will be for us to jump into those fields. And I'm just hoping that I'm able to pull my weight in that same vein. I want to be a soldier of that camp as well, and hope that people who come after me are able to jump into other fields a little bit easier than they were before. And so eventually someone realizes that professional wrestlers are literally like money-making entertainers in whatever field you wish them to be in, because we learn stage presence, we learn stage combat, we learn how to do interviews with people on the regular. You know, like there's a bunch of things that people in other fields necessarily don't have training in, and we get all of the training. And the more that we're exposed to other people, the more those people will then realize, wow, it's not just The Rock who can do this. It's not just John Cena who can do this. It's not just Xavier Woods who can do this. It might be like all of them. You know, and so anything to, I guess, wave the flag of, hey, pro wrestlers are really talented is something that that's kind of what I'm always looking to do.
Yeah, and as you've said before, I mean, with the G4 thing and what you've done with Up, Up, Down, Down, kind of creating an avenue for wrestlers and WWE superstars beyond the ring, and where you don't really have to take bumps, which is awesome, and kind of use your mind in different ways. Kind of going off what you said, what have you learned from, you know, being in WWE that you've been able to apply to G4 so far, and vice versa, if anything?
Definitely like media training stuff, like interviews, and just how to carry yourself in that vein. Definitely stage presence, because we're going to have to constantly live stream. Regularly, and I think there's a big difference between live streaming video game stuff and, I guess, doing it from your own personal space, or like hosting something. It's completely different when you have like an actual live audience. I don't mean like live and in person. It's a different vibe. So I think that what I've been able to learn in wrestling, obviously doing it every week in front of thousands of people live and millions at home, definitely be able to bring that to G4, in the sense of we are going to have to do lots of live shows with a live audience, and understanding how to work a crowd and how to keep them moving, how to keep them interested. I'm thinking that I'll be able to bring that over from the wrestling skills that I've been able to attain, and hopefully be able to pick up some more skills from everybody else, because all the hosts of G4 come from different fields. Like some come from comedy, some come from video games, you know, some come from tech. And so there's just a lot of stuff to learn. It's kind of a melting pot of knowledge, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Very nice. And that's just kicking off now. You guys had your first live stream, you said, last week, right? About a week ago?
Yeah, we did the kickoff on last Tuesday. Nice. So that was a couple-hour stream. I think the VOD is on G4's YouTube. So I think it was like a 5-hour stream. Wow. And so it was a lot of stuff. So I hosted that. We went around the whole studio, talked to all the hosts, and saw what shows were coming up. It's just a really exciting time mainly because we held our numbers the whole time, which is obviously, as you know, in media, you're trying to make sure people are engaging with your content.
Yeah.
And so we did really well numbers wise, and people seem to be really interested. So we're hoping that we can keep that up. Like I said, everybody bringing different skills to the table is what I think is really going to help us, because it's just a very big collaborative process. Yeah. Everyone is a creative and they just want to do well, and being able to walk into a space where literally from top to bottom, from the social media team to the president, everybody's on the same page about what they want the product to be. Mm-hmm. And I like, for instance, we'll be able to stream before the big shows and a little bit after the shows, like on the day. So it might be like a 2-hour intro to whatever show is going to happen that day. And they go, oh, who wants to do something? It's like, oh, I do. Okay, what do you want to do? Oh, I have an idea for a show. Okay, we'll try it out and see if it works. And then if it hits and people like it, maybe we'll do it 3 or 4 more times. And if it really pops off, then we'll turn it into a show. Mm-hmm. So it's very much a proving ground, rather than someone saying, hey, I interpret you this way, you should do this. You get to go out and say, I interpret myself this way, and this is how I want people to see me, and this is what I'm going to do. So it's incredible, an incredibly fulfilling and satisfying process, and I'm just happy that I get to be a part of it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I don't think a lot of people realize like the work that you're putting into this, like making a lot of this happen, and that just even beyond WWE. What we've seen with you on screen recently, obviously, you were just at Survivor Series representing Team SmackDown, currently embroiled in an ongoing rivalry, so to speak, with the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. How cool has it been for you, and even if not, maybe even a little weird to have that single spotlight on you for a change, feuding with the Universal Champion of all people over on the SmackDown brand?
It's been really cool, obviously, because I haven't had a chance to have a singles run in the company yet. My focus has literally always been on tag team wrestling. Even when I was a kid, I was just obsessed with it. Like, Billy and Chuck is my favorite tag team. I freaking love them because they right? People always laugh when I say that. But
it's
like, when you go back and think about it, like, that was a situation where we had a team who, they hit the scene, and it wasn't necessarily like, oh, these guys are going to be like world beaters and they're going to be champions. But then, like, they evolved into one of the most entertaining teams you could see. And they had a full, like, main event segment, like them getting married as partners together, a full main event segment where they reveal, like, Eric Bischoff, like, so much stuff was revolving around them. And I think that it's hard sometimes for tag teams to get in that position where they not just get to have cool matches, but where they get to be in the middle of the most important stuff on the show. And I think that was about the time in my life when I started really coming around to understanding what wrestling really was. And so I think it was just kind of a perfect storm for me to get to that phase in life, and me to see Billy and Chuck and go, oh my, this is incredible. I love this. And so I've always kind of taken cues from that. And then obviously, like, Hardy's, Dudley's, as a Christian, obviously, with this without saying. But to go back to this, so that's always been my focus, and I wanted to be a part of an important tag team that really did some things, and whether we helped change the game or whether we just had a fun run, I feel extremely lucky to be a part of New Day and be friends with Kofi and E, and the things that we've been able to do together. Now I get to do this solo run, and I've still got Sir Kofi with me at my side. He obviously on Raw puts a little damper on things because we like to be together, but it's been a blast getting to have that spotlight and getting to go out and talk a little bit more and wrestle a little bit more, because this is my life. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy, and to be able to be in a position where I can really start to show off the things that not only that I can do, but what I've learned over the years being a part of the company. It's really cool to get the chance to do that.
Absolutely, man. I love that you mentioned Billy and Chuck as an inspiration, too. And you mentioned the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardys. You've interacted / faced, if not beaten, most of those people. When are we getting a New Day? I mean, obviously, Billy might be a little difficult at the moment, but, Chuck is a possibility as far as interacting with on WWE TV at some point, right?
Bro, I'm so down. My thing is, I want to do things on the show that would pop me if I wasn't a wrestler right now. So, like, making anime references, talking about, like, there was a thing where I talked about, like, King Mabel and Ken Shamrock, and it's like, people are like, oh, I forgot Ken Shamrock was king. I was like, yeah, but you shouldn't, because that was incredible.
Right.
So little things like that. So if it's something that you think would be funny or entertaining, then it's probably on my list of things that I want to do. Because it's just, there's so many serious people on the show, and people are world beaters, and they come out and they're angry and they just want to, like, violence, and it's like, that's cool. But on Raw, you got 3 hours to fill. SmackDown, you got 2. Then you got NXT. Then we got pay-per-views. Like, how many hours of people being intense badasses can you really consume? Before you get sick of it, before it gets old. And so I've always been the school of thought, like, well, if 85% of what you're seeing in wrestling is going to be that, what happens if I do something else? let's try something else. And it worked with New Day. And that's this kind of stuff that I like. I like it to be a little more ridiculous. I like for my wrestling to be wrestling. And to me, wrestling is the most ridiculous thing that anyone could ever watch. And it's fun, and it can make you laugh and make you cry and make you passionate and make you hate something and make you love something. And it's like, man, if we can play into all those emotions by just changing a little bit of what our characters might do or say or be or how they might react, like that to me is the art form and the fun. Like, how can my stuff be different from the stuff that you just saw before the last commercial break? You know. And so that's kind of where my heart lives, and being able to do all this stuff as King now, I feel like I might be able to really get the opportunity to explore that a little bit more, and I'm beyond excited to get that chance.
Awesome, man. Well, it's cool to see you guys still going strong as New Day, and even just specifically individually. But 7 years later, almost exactly, you guys are still one of the greatest things going on WWE TV right now. I gotta save the best question for last, man. We talked about this the other day at the press junket, but I gotta ask you again. You've had a couple days to think about it. Best song on the SVR07 soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Here, hold on. I'm putting my phone on speaker right now, and I'm going to the soundtrack list of my phone. Okay, 07 SVR. 07. Okay, soundtrack.
A lot of great choices.
There's so many.
Every game has a great soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm so used to hearing the 06 soundtrack that I totally forgot about all. Okay. Here we go. Oh, that's easy. That's very easy. I got money in the bank. Started with. Yeah. That's not that was an easy thing. As soon as I saw that pop up, it's like, yeah. That's the best song in there.
How has that not been the Money in the Bank theme song yet?
Bro, I have no idea. Every year we talk about it, me and Breeze specifically. Yeah. So if Money in the Bank's coming up, one of us will send a text to the other one, just a voice text going, I got money in the bank.
Oh, that's incredible. Maybe one of these years, and if it happens, you guys made it happen. But you got to be excited for GM mode coming back in the next game, right?
Yeah. I hope that everything runs smooth and that it's good. My thing is, I obviously have no part in making the game. I'm on the wrestling side of things, but I definitely have a stake in it because I am in the game, and it's a wrestling game from the company that I am an independent contractor for. So I'm pumped because everybody on the 2K team seems very excited about things, and so things seem promising, and I can only keep my fingers crossed and hope for the best when it finally releases. But I'm hoping that this game brings back a lot of that equity with the gamer fans, because I know for me myself, it was hard to play some of them, I'll be honest. But I mean, they all have their good things and their great aspects. But as far as like a fun video game, sometimes I'm just looking for that. And I feel like the learning curve got a little bit intense. But on this one, they said there's like, remapped controls and all that stuff. And I'm really, I feel good about it. Yeah. Is what I can say. Yeah. So like I said, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great game, and I'm looking to fire up SVR07 on my PS2 a little bit later on tonight before Thanksgiving tomorrow. It's my annual Thanksgiving tradition, so it kind of got me in the mood for that just hearing you talk about it. But
nice.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for the time. People can get you every Friday on SmackDown. King Woods currently feuding with the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and as well as on G4. You got a lot going on, man. I appreciate you taking the time. This has been great.
Yeah, of course. And make sure you check me out on the socials. That's at Austin Creed Wins, because I always do. And then check out G4 TV. That's at G4 TV on literally all social platforms. Nothing but good information and laughs. And so make sure you check us out.
Fantastic, man. People can check you out there. Have a great Thanksgiving, man. I appreciate it again.
Yeah, you do the same.
Thanks,
and remember, I got money in the bank. Shorty was thank.
That's the top takeaway from today. Thanks again, man. Have an awesome one.
That's the last thing I want to leave people with.
I love it. Thanks again, dude. Have an awesome one.
Yep, you too.